4.4% estimated fiscal deficit at the end of financial year 26, which is 0.4 percent point drops from 4.8% in FY25. 1.8 percentage points drop in allocation for infrastructure as a share of budget in comparison to previous financial year. 1.6 percentage points rise in allocation for the social sector as a share of budget in comparison to previous year. Tax bonanza for the middle class. Income up to 12 lakh free. People earning at least 25 lakhs may get 1.1 lakh in tax savings. Big push to increase spending and spur growth. Tax rate changes. New income tax bill show the government is responsive to the voice of the people, says Finance Minister. Tax rate changes. New income tax bill show the government is responsive to the voice of the people, says Finance Minister. 33.7% income tax share in the gross tax revenue in financial year 26 despite 1 lakh crore. 33.7% income tax share in the gross tax revenue in FY26 despite 1 lakh crore foregone as डायरेक्ट टैक्स अभी भी इनकम टैक्स का शेयर जो है 33.7% है. If your car is sputtering and faulty fading battery appears to be the cause, the only immediate alternative is to try and jumpstart it by hooking it up with another running car. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman sought to do just that on Saturday with her union budget for F 2025-26 jumpstart showing slowing economic activity with a significant 1 lakh crore tax stimulus for households of the sort the government has generally refrained from, in the hope that India's weakening domestic demand will rebound and bring the economy back in the fast lane. Ms. Sitharaman began her speech by stating the budget seeks to accelerate growth, uplift household sentiments, and enhance the spending power of India's rising middle class, and ended with the biggest relief measure for taxpayers in recent times. No income tax would be payable for the annual incomes of up to 12 lakhs from present limit of 7 lakh. Finance Secretary Tuhin Kanta Pandey said the change under the new personal income tax regime, where no other exemptions are permitted, could help 1 crore taxpayers have zero tax liability except on incomes from sources such as capital gains that attract special rates. For salaried taxpayers, tax-free income threshold will be 12.75 lakh a year thanks to the standard deduction of 75,000. The post-pandemic pent-up demand has been diminishing and the long stretches of high inflation has been hurting consumption in recent quarters. Moreover, the government's preferred multiplier effect driver of public capex to spur growth has also slipped this year, dragging growth to an estimated 6.4% this fiscal, even as global headwinds remain dodgy. Several economists and top central bank officials have been advocating a consumption push to stoke growth impulses and catalyze slack private investments. Ms. Sitharaman seems to have listened and agreed wholeheartedly. Slabs and rates are being changed across the board to benefit all taxpayers. The new tax structure will substantially reduce the taxes of the middle class and leave more money in their hands, boosting household consumption, she said. Adding the changes will translate into 1 lakh crore of the foregone revenue. Along with a revamped income tax law, which Ms. Sitharaman had indicated in her last budget presented in July 24, she also followed through on a promise to review India's custom duty structure by proposing to delete 7 of 15 tariffs. The tariff structure is not only being simplified, but the rates are being reduced, she stressed in a possible signal to the US President Donald Trump, who has been clubbing India with China in his remarks threatening high tariffs on products from outside America. As at a press conference later in the day, Ms. Sitaraman asserted that the tax rate changes and the proposed new income tax bill are a strong reflection that the government is responsive to the voice of the people. On page 2, Finance Minister announces custom duty revamp for industrial goods for investors, proposal to remove cap on FDI for the insurance sector, for social sector gig workers to receive health cover under PMJAY, in infrastructure, Udan to receive government support for another 10 years. उड़े देश का आम नागरिक. Fresh boost for quest towards clean energy. In a continuing quest to encourage small and medium firms in the clean energy sector, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has exempted cobalt, powder and waste, scrap of lithium-ion batteries, lead, zinc and 12 other critical minerals from the basic customs duty. Nirmala Sitharaman has exempted cobalt, powder and waste, scrap of lithium-ion batteries, lead, zinc and 12 other critical minerals from the basic customs duty. In her July 24 budget, Ms. Sitharaman has exempted 25 critical minerals that are not domestically available from the basic customs duty net. The National Critical Mineral Mission being set up under the Ministry of Mines also got an allocation of 410 crore for 25-26 with a mandate to enhance domestic production, recycle critical minerals and acquire critical mineral assets located in other countries. This will include technology development, skilled workforce creation and establishment of extended producer responsibility framework, implementation of suitable financing mechanism according to the budget documents. The National Critical Minerals Mission is being set up under Ministry of Mines also got an allocation of 410 crore for 25-26 with a mandate to enhance domestic production, recycle critical minerals and acquire critical mineral assets located in other countries. Delhi voters cheer income tax relief. The middle class in roll-bound Delhi on Saturday welcomed the income tax relief announced in the union budget, with many residents expressing joy over the raised exemption limit. Rajkumar, a 59-year-old government employee from South Delhi's Vinoba Puri, said he will save around 20,000 to 30,000 due to revised tax exemption limit of 12 lakh. We save thousands of rupees because we have free electricity, buses for women, mohalla clinics and water. These are all important to me while voting. Rajkumar, a 59-year-old government employee from South Delhi, said he will save around 20 to 30,000 due to revised tax exemption limit of 12 lakh. We save thousands of rupees because we have free electricity, buses for women, mohalla clinics and water. These are important to me while voting. The sentiment was echoed by other residents in the middle class neighborhood. Jitendra Sharma, a 47-year-old private sector employee, said the announcement will increase consumption. While Delhi BJP President Virendra Sachdeva hailed the Narendra Modi government's decision to raise the income tax exemption threshold, the ruling AAP criticized the budget, stating that the middle class has been deceived due to lack of relief on GST and home loans. Budget brings in plenty for poll-bound Bihar. RJD flags lack of special package. Dressed in cream and red Madhubani sari, featuring Bihar's iconic art, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman heaped promises on the poll-bound state in her budget presentation on Saturday. The slew of projects kept key NDA ally, the Janata Dal United, in good humor while generating every while generating envy from other regional parties, as well as taunts from the opposition Rashtriya Janata Dal United, which termed the announcement empty rhetoric in the absence of special package for the state. Bihar is set to go to the polls later this year. Key announcements include 11,500 crore for the financial support of Western Koshi Canal Extension, renovation and modernization. Western Koshi Canal Extension, renovation and modernization project and new Makhana board for foxnut farmers. The canal project, Mr. Sitaraman said, would benefit farmers cultivating over 50,000 hectares of land in Bihar. Applauding the announcements, Bihar's Chief Minister and JDU Chief Nitish Kumar said the union budget was positive and progressive. The budget will give further impetus to the development of Bihar and will accelerate the economic development of the state. The new tax structure will reduce the taxes of the middle class and leave more money in their hands, boosting consumption, savings, and investments. Share of income tax increases. Despite announcing that no income tax needs to be paid up to an income of 12 lakh, the government is still expecting the share of income tax in gross tax collections to increase in FY26. 33% income tax share in gross tax is expected to increase to 33.7% in FY26, 1 percentage point higher than FY25. Corporate taxes share in gross tax decreases slightly by zero point 0.1 points in FY26 compared to FY25. The rationalization of personal tax regime could unleash potential consumption boom at least 3.3 trillion spent over baseline. CS Shetty, Chairman SBI, the rationalization of personal tax regime could unleash a potential consumption boom of at least 3.3 trillion spent over baseline. So highest is personal income tax, then GST, then corporate tax and others. Personal income tax, GST, corporate tax. Personal personal income tax, GST and corporate tax. पहले कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स सबसे ज़्यादा था, फिर जीएसटी था और फिर पर्सनल इनकम टैक्स था. अभी सब उल्टा हो गया है. पर्सनल इनकम टैक्स से गवर्नमेंट को सबसे ज़्यादा रेवेन्यू मिल रहा है, उसके बाद फिर जीएसटी और उसके बाद कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स. Government slashes multiple custom duties, with budget 25-26 doing away with budget 25-26 doing away with 7 tariff rates. There will be just 8 rates including 0 for industrial goods. Move expected to boost domestic manufacturing exports. Finance Minister proposes to exempt social welfare surcharge on 82 tariff lines that are subject to tax. Finance Minister proposes to exempt social welfare surcharge on 82 tariff lines that are subject to cess. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced measures in the union budget to rationalize customs duty structure for industrial goods by removing 7 tariff rates and address duty inversion. This will also support domestic manufacturing and value addition, promote exports, facilitate trade, and provide relief to the common people. Industrial goods will have only 8 tariff rates, including 0 rate, as 7 were removed in the 23-24 budget and 7 more in the budget announced on Saturday. Finance Minister also proposed to apply appropriate cess to broadly maintain effective duty incidents, except on a few items where such incidents will reduce marginally and levy not more than one cess or surcharge. Therefore, I propose to exempt social welfare surcharge on 82 tariff lines that are subject to assess. Further, in a move to encourage voluntary compliance, budget proposes introduction of a provision that will enable importers or exporters after clearance of goods to voluntarily declare material facts and pay duty with interest but without penalty. However, this will not apply in cases where the authorities had already initiated audit or investigation proceedings. The time limit for the end use of imported inputs in the relevant rules has been extended from 6 months to 1 year, and such importers will have to file only quarterly statements instead of monthly statement. For manufacturing industries and MSMEs, cobalt powder and waste, scrap of lithium-ion batteries, lead, zinc, and 12 more critical minerals will be added to the list announced in the budget last July for complete basics customs duty exemption. While two types of shuttleless looms will get into the list of BCD exemption, the BCD rate on knitted fabrics covered by 9 tariff lines will be revised from 10% or 20% to 15 or 115 per kg, whichever is higher. On the inverted duty structure, the finance minister proposed to increase the basic customs duty on interactive flat panel display from 10% to 20% and reduce the BCD to 5% on open cell and other components. The exemption of BCD on raw materials, components, consumables, or parts for the manufacture of ships and will continue for another 10 years. Reacting to the proposals, the Global Trade Research Initiative said that the union budget reinforced a fiscal strategy the government had followed since 21-22, which was reducing the BCD while increasing the agriculture infrastructure and development cess. The shift allows the center to retain more revenue because while BCD is shared with states, AIDC is not. For instance, BCD on marble slabs is 40%. It will now be 20% BCD plus 20% AIDC. For solar modules, the existing rate of 40% basic custom duty and 4% social welfare surcharge, the new rate will be 20% basic customs duty and 20% agriculture, infrastructure and development cess. The shift allows the center to retain more revenue because while BCD is shared with states, AIDC is not. For instance, the BCD on marble slabs is 40%. It will now be BCD, 20% BCD plus 20% AICD. For solar modules, the existing rate is 40% BCD and 4% social welfare charge. The new rate will be 20% BCD and 20% AIDC. Responsive budget that banks on India. Income tax exemption hike to 12 lakh support to MSMEs expected to spur domestic consumption. The finance minister has delivered a growth-oriented budget that reaffirms the government's commitment to attain larger purpose of Viksit Bharat with progressive policies to step up domestic consumption while driving long-term transformation. The single most important highlight of this budget is the increase in income tax exemption of 12 lakh, which will raise disposable income, particularly benefiting the middle class. Apart from spurring consumption, this move is also a message to a larger population that the benefit of larger tax base and better compliance is lower taxes for everybody. Additionally, Additionally, the fast growing medium, small, and micro enterprise sector has been given priority through measures such as enhancing credit guarantee cover and increasing investment and turnover limits. Enhancing credit guarantee cover and increasing investment and turnover limits, which provides continuity in long term policy. Banking on domestic consumption is a prudent strategy to cope with the rising global challenges. Budget sets a revised fiscal deficit targets of 4.8% of GDP for 24-25 with an ambitious goal of 4.4% for the next year. This continued focus on fiscal consolidation ensures that inflation remains in check and investors continue to support the prudent growth story of the country. Keeping inflation in check is important to ensure that the gains on tax savings are not wiped out by the rising cost. Record capex allocation. The budget has allocated record 11.2 lakh crore towards capital expenditure. The substantial outlay will strengthen India's infrastructure development and also stimulate private sector investment. Additionally, 1.5 lakh crore in the 50-year interest-free loans to states will catalyze vital infrastructure development across the country, reinforcing the government's commitment to robust public investment for economic expansion. A dedicated nuclear energy mission with 20,000 crore investment for research and development in small modular reactors underscores the government commitment to sustainable energy. A dedicated nuclear energy mission with 20,000 crore investment for R&D, research and development underscores the government's commitment to sustainable energy. Moreover, the removal of basic custom duties on battery manufacturing equipment, cobalt powder and lithium-ion battery waste will accelerate the growth of India's vehicle sector. Recognizing that India's growth will be driven by a skilled workforce, the budget emphasizes initiatives to enhance skill development, establishment of 5 national centers of excellence for skilling, along with partnerships for global expertise, will equip India's workforce for Make in India, Make for the World manufacturing initiative. Additionally, the expansion of the capacities of the Indian Institutes of Technology and creation of Center of Excellence in Artificial Intelligence are vital steps to address the evolving demands of global technology and innovation landscape. Life-saving drugs to get cheaper, the union government has allocated 99,000 crore, basically 1 lakh crore approximately, for the Union Health Ministry in the budget 25-26, including 95,000 crore for the Department of Health and Family Welfare and 3 lakh crore for the Department of Health Research. Sorry, 95,000 crore and 3,000 crore for Department of Health Research. This is an increase from 89,000 crore allocated in budget revised estimates 24-25. The government's announcement to fully exempt 36 life-saving drugs for treating cancer, rare diseases and chronic diseases from basic customs duty will make the drugs cheaper. It has announced additional manpower creation and expanding its health insurance scheme, Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, to include gig workers. The budget presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman also envisaged enhanced care to women and child health through targeted interventions. Three regimes. Tables show calculations on the total tax payable across various salary brackets or slabs as per the old tax regime, new tax regime, and the newly proposed tax slab under the revised tax regime in the Union Budget 25-26. Calculations include taxes payable in three scenarios with standard deduction, certain exemptions under 80C, of the Income Tax Act, along with standard deduction, other exemptions from salary, tax rebates, cesses, and surcharges. Okay, so let's see the standard deduction plus ATC plus exemption from salaries. So if a person is earning 12 lakh 75,000 in the old tax regime, they can assume, let's say, 20% exemption from salaries, 2 lakh 55,000, 50,000 standard deduction, 1 lakh 50,000 deduction under ATC. So basically their total taxable income becomes 8 lakh 20,000, and their tax liability will become 76,500, and they have to pay 79,560 including health and education cess. Now if we move to the new regime, they have to pay higher a bit. For example, they will get only standard deduction 75,000, but since the slabs have also been reduced, so only 80,000 tax, so 83,000, while in the new tax regime it is less. For 15 lakh it was 97,000, earlier it was 1 lakh 30,000, earlier it was 1 lakh 17,000. Income tax relief apart, Finance Minister unveils ease of onerous TDS and TCS norms. Saturday's revision in the income tax limit was the fourth following the National Democratic Alliance consecutive rule since 2014. The first revision in 2014 raised taxable income limit from 2 lakh to 2.5 lakh annually. Second revision doubled in the 5 years later to 5 lakh, and a third in 2023 raised it further to 7 lakh. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman informed the House as a result of the proposals announced on Saturday, revenue of 1 lakh crore would be foregone in direct taxes and 26 crore in indirect taxes. Ms. Sitharaman proposed to rationalize tax deducted at source by reducing the number of rates and thresholds above which TDS is levied. In addition to this, she promised threshold amount for tax deduction be increased for better clarity and uniformity. According to Purva Prakash, partner at Deloitte India, the primary intent about altering tax rates and thresholds is to manage the volume of transactions under the existing structure. This in turn would help build further compliance. 1 lakh crore would be foregone in direct taxes and 26 crore in indirect taxes. About the revisions, the finance minister sought the limits for tax deduction on interest for senior citizens be doubled from 50,000 to 1 lakh. Similarly, the present annual interest of 2.4 lakh present income annual limit of 2.4 lakh for TDS on rent be increased to 6 lakh. This will reduce the number of transactions liable to TDS, thus benefiting small taxpayers receiving small payments. The threshold on tax collection at source on remittances under the Reserve Bank of India's liberalized remittance scheme has been proposed to be increased from 7 lakh to 10 lakh. Significantly, the finance minister proposed to remove TCS on remittances for education purposes. This potentially affect loans from the bank. The finance minister has also proposed to avert incidents wherein both TDS and TCS were being applied in conjunction on the sale of goods. According to Akhil Chandrana, partner at Grant Thornton Bharat, this would be a relief for business to business transactions. Collecting TDS from buyers and TCS from sellers for the same transaction would be averted. This helps ease the compliance burden. Smartphone parts duty to be scrapped. The basic customs duty of 2.5% imposed on certain smartphone components has been scrapped, recommended by the electronic manufacturing industry last year. Mobile phones are fast emerging as India's top export commodity, reaching $15 billion in the last year. Slabs for components has been rationalized, IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav told press persons after the budget presentation. The rationalization of tariffs on key inputs and components creates a more competitive cost structure and encourages deeper integration with the global value chains. Pankaj Mohindro, chairman of the India Cellular and Electronics Association, said the custom duties on components such as printed circuit board assemblies, camera modules, and fingerprint scanners were nuisance duties, Hindro complained last year, adding they did not contribute significantly to promote domestic manufacturing. For investor, Investment Friendliness Index of States will be launched in 25 to further the spirit of competitive cooperative federalism. Market says May the BSE Sensex remained flat on budget day. Some sectors of the market, real estate, auto, and fast moving consumer goods, reacted well to the budget speech, while others such as capital goods, industrial, and power did not. Sanjeev Puri, President CII, the setting up of a higher level committee for reforms and move to decriminalize another 100 business laws are welcome steps in the right direction. A clear roadmap for Viksit Bharat, Kumar Mangalam Birla, Chairman Aditya Birla Group. Government has maintained focus on infrastructure while aviation nuclear energy gets due attention. Finance minister face a perennial balancing act when crafting budgets. They must articulate the government's broader policy vision while maintaining fiscal discipline. A task that is as complex as it is consequential. Nirmala Sitharaman's latest budget achieves this with precision. It lays down a clear roadmap for Viksit Bharat while remaining steadfast in its commitment to fiscal consolidation. At its core is a renewed focus on consumption with 1 lakh crore boost. Higher discretionary income will flow into sectors like housing, automobiles, consumer goods, and travel, and providing a much needed demand stimulus. The government has also maintained its consistent focus on infrastructure, a central pillar of this expansion of the public private partnership model. The finance minister has directed all infrastructure related ministries to identify 3-year project pipelines under the PPP framework with states encouraged to participate. To accelerate this transition, the government has earmarked 1.5 lakh crore in a 50-year to accelerate this transition. The government has earmarked 1.5 lakh crore in 50-year interest-free loans to states for capital expenditure, incentivizing them to align with national infrastructure priorities. Asset monetization stays key funding mechanism. The government has announced a second asset monetization plan 2530 targeting 10 lakh crore, significantly larger than the 6 lakh crore goal on the first plan unveiled in 21-22. This underscores the administration's strategy of recycling capital from existing public assets to finance new infrastructure development. The budget also focuses on power sector revitalization, particularly in electricity distribution and intrastate transmission. States that implement crucial DISCOM reforms will be permitted additional borrowing of up to 0.5% of the GSDP, reinforcing fiscal incentives to drive much needed structural changes. A notable shift in the mission mode approach to nuclear energy, with an ambitious 100 gigawatt nuclear power target by 2047, the budget proposes amending the Atomic Energy Act and the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act. Atomic Energy Act and Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act, opening the sector to broader private participation. The budget also focuses on private sector power sector revitalization, particularly in electricity distribution, intrastate transmission. States that will implement crucial DISCOM sector reforms will be permitted additional borrowing of up to 0.5% of the GSDP, reinforcing fiscal incentives to drive much needed structural changes. A notable shift is the mission mode approach to nuclear energy, with an ambitious 100 gigawatt nuclear power target by 2047. The budget proposes amending the Atomic Energy Act and the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act, opening up the sector to broader private participation. It also commits 20,000 crore for research and development of small modular reactors, underscoring the importance of indigenous innovation in India's energy transition. Aviation also gets due attention. The modified Udan scheme adds to 120 new destinations, targeting 4 crore additional passengers over the next decade. Meanwhile, private sector access to PM Gati Shakti portal data is expected to boost infrastructure planning, further integrating public investment with market driven efficiency. Ultimately, India's ambition to become a developed nation hinges on the quality of its infrastructure. This budget makes clear Modi's government commitment to remove bottlenecks, unlock capital, and accelerate development. It is a strategy in pragmatism, one that prioritizes long-term investment over short-term populism and seeks to lay groundwork for sustained high-quality growth. In a fillip to MSMEs classification norms to be revised, the Union Budget proposed many measures to boost MSMEs. One of the major measures is the revision in classification criteria of MSMEs based on investment and turnover. It is estimated that there are 5.7 crore MSMEs, more than 1 crore registered MSMEs employ 7.5 crore people and generate there are 5.7 crore MSMEs, more than 1 crore registered MSMEs, employ 7.5 crore people and generate 36% of the manufacturing output and are responsible for 45% of exports. The investment and turnover limits for classification will be enhanced to 2.5 times and 2.2 times respectively. Micro industries will be classified as those with 2.5 crore investment and 10 crore annual turnover. Small scale industries will be of those with 25 crore investment and 100 crore turnover, and medium will be 125 crore investment and 500 crore turnover. So 2.5, 25 and 125. 2.5 into 5 into 5 and 10, 100, 500. The government will set up a national manufacturing mission covering small, medium and large industries for furthering Make in India by providing policy support, execution roadmaps, governance and monitoring framework for central ministries and states. To improve access to credit, the credit guarantee cover will be raised from micro and small enterprises from 5 crore to 10 crore, leading to additional credit of 1.5 lakh crore in the next 5 years, and for the well-run exporter MSMEs for terms loans up to 20 crores. The government will unveil customized credit cards with 5 lakh limit for micro units registered on the Udyam portal. Meanwhile, the Coimbatore District Small Industries Association urged the center to implement announcements in the last budget, including new assessment model for MSME credit and credit support to MSMEs during stress to avoid turning into NPAs. Our Rural Prosperity Program will generate opportunities in rural areas so that migration is an option, not a necessity. From heritage tourism to medical tourism, the budget recognizes the multiplier effect that it has on employment and economic development. Reactor plan not enriched with funds. Union budget proposes that five of them will be ready by 2033. Government to remove FDI cap for insurers. Current guardrails conditionalities associated with foreign investment will be reviewed and simplified. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in her budget speech said, at the heart of the measures is the centre's Insurance for All by 2047 goal. Insurance for All by 2047 goal. The Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Saturday said the foreign direct investment limit for insurance sector will be raised from 74% to 100%. However, the enhanced limit will be available for those companies which invest the entire premium in India. Announcing the proposal to remove the cap on FDI on the condition in Budget 25-26 speech. Current guardrails and conditionality associated with foreign investment will be reviewed and simplified. The government in 2020 has permitted 100% FDI into insurance intermediaries such as insurance brokers. In November 24, the Department of Financial Services has initiated the process of public consultation on raising FDI in Indian insurance companies from 74% to 100%, as well as enabling an insurer to carry on one or more classes of insurance businesses and activities related or incidental to insurance. At the heart of the measures is the Insurance for All by 2047 goal being pursued by the government. Insurance industries leaders and top executives were quick to welcome the budget proposal. The decision to allow 100% FDI in the insurance sector will attract global investments, strengthening the industry and faster innovation. The move promotes healthy competition, leading to better services, more choices, and potentially lower premiums for consumers. The reform is not just about increasing capital inflows, it is about reshaping the insurance landscape and ensure every individual and business has access to risk protection. As competition intensifies, we will see more transparency, faster claim processing, and stronger trust in the industry. Bajaj Allianz General Insurance MD CEO Tapan Singhal said. The announcement comes even as wait for customers on reduction in the goods and services tax on insurance, especially health covers from existing 18% grew longer, with the GST Council deciding on further deliberations before taking a decision. Global insurance companies can now invest fully, and we anticipate the emergence of innovative products and services tailored to meet the diverse needs of the Indian consumers. The budget raised the threshold to deduct or collect tax at source or insurance commission from 15,000 to 20,000. The rate of deduction of insurance income tax at source on insurance commission will be cut from 5% to 2% with effect from April 1. The Union government is also proposing to exempt the proceeds received on life insurance policy issued by International Financial Services Center Insurance Intermediary Office without condition on maximum premium account. Centre proposes many reforms to lift investor mood. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman proposed several financial sector reforms to ease compliance, expand services, build robust regulatory environments, promote international and domestic investment, and effect decriminalization of archaic legal provisions. For technological advancement in the banking, financial services, and insurance sector, she proposed various measures, including allocation of 500 crore for an of AI Center of Excellence, AI Center of Excellence, and implementation of digital infrastructure for global trade finance. She proposed a light touch regulatory framework to ensure productivity and employment in a step towards providing a contemporary and people friendly regulatory framework. A high level committee for regulatory reforms would be set up to review the non financial sector. High level committee for regulatory reforms would be set up to review the non financial sector regulations, certifications, licenses, and permissions. State governments would be asked to implement the recommendations of the panel at their regulatory authorities. Ms. Sitharaman said an investment friendliness index of states would be launched in 2025 to further the spirit of competitive cooperative federalism. She proposed to establish mechanism under the Financial Stability and Development Council to enhance development of the financial sector, to decriminalize over 100 provisions on various laws. The minister would table the Jan Vishwas Bill 2.0 in Parliament shortly. She also proposed to rationalize laws for fast-tracking company mergers. A forum will also create to ensure regulatory coordination for pension products. The minister proposed to simplify regulations covering alternate investment funds investing in startups. She created a new fund with expanded scope and fresh contribution of 10,000 crore. Sensex Nifty and almost flat after high volatile budget day trading. Economy. Our Rural Prosperity Program will generate opportunities in rural areas so that migration is an option, not a necessity. Capital expenditure stagnates. Capital expenditure as a share of GDP remained unchanged at 3.1% in FY26 budget estimate, the same as in 2025 revised estimate. It marginally declined from the actuals of FY24 3.2%. From heritage tourism to medical tourism, the budget recognizes the multiplier effect it has on employment and economic development. Kiran Majumdar Shaw, Chairperson Biocon. Reactor plant not enriched with funds. Union budget proposes that five of them will be ready by 2030, but no financial commitment has been made towards the building them. Atomic Energy Department spend 24,000 crore in 25-26. Amendments to be made to make amendments to be made to make to Atomic Energy Act, Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced in the Union Budget a 20,000 crore nuclear energy mission to develop indigenous small modular reactors. The budget proposes that at least five of these reactors will be operationalized by 2033. However, a perusal of the budget document suggests no financial commitment towards this year. The Department of Atomic Energy expects to spend 24,000 crore in 25-26, similar to 24,000 crore it is expected to spend in March 25. These are even less than 25,000 crore it spent in 23-24. Flagship schemes or missions flagged in the finance minister's budget speech reflect long-term intent and usually see a mention or a nominal allocation for that year in the budget documents. However, no such notes or explanations are provided by the Atomic Department of Atomic Energy's stated demands. In her budget speech last year, Ms. Sitharaman said the government would be partnering with the private sector of setting up of Bharat Small Reactors, research and development of Bharat Small Modular Reactors, and research development of newer technologies for nuclear energy. This is important, she said, to India's larger goal of ensuring 100 gigawatt of nuclear energy by 2047, and towards this amendments to the Atomic Energy Act and Civil Liability and Nuclear Damage Act would be made. When they have the word small in common, Bharat Small Reactor, research and development of Bharat Small Modular Reactor. In her budget, Ms. Sitharaman said the government would be partnering with private sector for setting up Bharat Small Reactor, research and development of Bharat Small Modular Reactor, and research and development of newer technologies. This is important, she said, to India's larger goal of ensuring 100 gigawatt of nuclear energy by 2047, and towards this amendments to the Atomic Energy Act and Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act. While they have the word small in common, BSR and BSMR are different. The former refers to incrementally modified forms of India's existing pressurized heavy water reactors (PHWR), while BSMR is a nascent technology being researched globally. The larger import of Prime Minister's speech is the future of nuclear technology lies in the private sector. It is an inversion of how things are today, where the government nuclear establishment builds, operates, funds reactors. We have seen the limitations of that approach. The BSR government expects will be built and run by a state-run Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, but financed by private players in the power sectors. Job schemes don't look promising. Santosh Mehrotra, former professor of economics, JNU. Three schemes announced in the budget may not be enough to generate non-farm employment. This piece analyzes the Union Budget 25-26 for its employment generating impact from a macroeconomic as well as microeconomic perspective. It does it by examining two sets of proposals. The first is the flagship personal income tax slab revision, and the second, schemes announced in the classic government way of translating budget allocations to outcomes. We start by rejecting the Ministry of Finance Economic Survey 2025-26 claim that rising labor force participation rates and worker population ratio and falling unemployment rate. These the facts are as follows. In 2017-2018, India reached the highest unemployment rate in the history of labor surveys in India. The economy slowed over 9 quarters from 2017 to early 2020, and then COVID sent unemployment shooting up. Hence, 80 million workers went back to agriculture, reversing the exit from agriculture between 2004 and 2019. Thus, LFPR has risen as has WPR, and unemployment rate fell, but only because women also joined agriculture. As unpaid family labor, 40 million additional unpaid family labor. This is what the CLEMS researchers and the Prime Minister have called 8 crore new jobs in the 4 years. The economic survey admits real wages have not risen for 80% of the workers in 5 years, but still claims jobs have grown, a rather contradictory conclusion. Given this background, one would have expected that economic policy generally and budgets post COVID in particular would be designed to create non farm jobs, given that aggregate demand has collapsed as macroeconomic aggregates have shown. However, the finance minister answer in the budget has been to give personal income tax breaks to the middle class, hoping to revive demand. Given that middle class itself has to save to maintain consumption, and consumption has barely grown, the tax break to 30 million personal income tax payers in a workforce of 600 million are hardly likely to suddenly turn around aggregate demand, let alone encourage the growth of private investment and hence generate growth or jobs. Meanwhile, the schemes in the budget for so-called employment hardly seems promising in the respect of non-farm job creation. The first scheme is enhancement of credit availability with credit guarantee cover for micro and small enterprises, startups as well as MSMEs. The second is to promote employment and entrepreneurship opportunities in labor-intensive sectors such as footwear and leather products. Finally, there is a scheme for tourism and for employment-led growth through development of tourist destinations, skilling programs for youth, and loans for homestays. For a country that adds 6 to 7 million new job seekers each year, a country that has 46% of the workforce now in agriculture who should exit farming, a country that has 100 million youth not in education, employment, or training, and about 25 million unemployed, these three schemes don't seem to address the challenges of job creation. A stitch in time for leather, footwear, and cotton sectors. The textile, apparel, and footwear and leather sectors got a boost in the union budget with an announcement of a mission on cotton and focused product scheme for the footwear and the leather sector. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced that the focused product scheme would enhance the productivity, quality, and competitiveness of footwear and leather sector. It would generate a turnover of 4 lakh crore and export of more than 1.1 lakh crore, generating employment for 22 lakh people. Textile, apparel, footwear, and leather sectors with an announcement of mission on cotton and a focused product scheme, mission on cotton and a focused product scheme for the footwear and leather sector. The mission for cotton productivity is one of the major demands of the textile industry. The 5-year mission will focus on improving productivity and sustainability of cotton farming. It will promote cultivation of extra long staple cotton varieties. The best of science and technology support will be provided to farmers. This will help increase income of the farmers and ensure a steady supply of quality cotton for rejuvenating India's traditional textile sector. In an effort to make India a global hub for toys, a scheme would be launched to develop toy clusters, skills and manufacturing ecosystem that would promote production of made in India sustainable innovative toys. Technical textile production, including agro, medical, and geotextiles, would be supported with the removal of basic custom duties on two types of shuttle-less looms used to make these products. In a major relief to the garment sector, basic custom duties on knitted fabrics covering 9 tariff lines would be increased from 10 or 20% to 20% or 115 per kg, whichever is higher. The total allocation for textile sector saw 57.7% increase to almost 5,200 crore for 25-26 from 3,300 crore in revised estimate of 24-25. The outlay for the transport sector apart from interest payments forms the bulk of the expenditure in FY budget estimates of FY26. However, transport share in total budget came down by 0.79 percentage points from the last year, 11.58 to 10.78 percentage points. The graphic depicts budgeted expenditure and change from FY25 revised estimates in percentage points. So highest is interest payments, which is 12.76 lakh crore. As usual, interest payments garnered a lion's share of the total budget this year. In absolute figures, 12.76 lakh crore was allocated for interest payments. If expressed as a share of FY26 budget estimates, total budget, it comes to 25%, which is 0.75 percentage increase more than the share in FY25 revised estimates. Transport sector 5 lakh crore, defense 4.91 lakh crore, 0.1 percentage points decrease. Then tax administration 1.86 lakh crore, fertilizer subsidies 1.67 lakh crore, agriculture and allied activities is 1.71 lakh crore, and education is 1.28 lakh crore, 0.09 percentage increase. Health is 98,000 crore, urban development is 96,000 crore, and IT and telecom is 95,000 crore. Energy is 81,000 crore, social welfare is 60,000 crore, commerce and industry is 65,000 crore, finance is 62,000 crore, scientific departments is 55,000 crore, external affairs is 20,000 crore, petroleum subsidy is 12,000 crore, and development of northeast is 5,900 6,000 crore. Food subsidy is 2 lakh crore, home affairs is 2 lakh 2.233 lakh crore, rural urban development is 2.66 lakh crore, and pension is 2.76 lakh crore, others is 4.82 lakh crore. So since interest is 12 lakh crore, so entire budget will be around 48-49 lakh crore, 25%. Export promotion mission to be set up by the union government. The union budget announced on an export promotion mission with an outlay of 2000 crore to facilitate easy access to export credit, cross-border factoring support, and help MSMEs tackle non-tariff measures in overseas markets. The mission with sectoral and ministerial targets will be driven jointly by Ministry of Commerce, MSMEs and Finance. Another major plan is to create digital public infrastructure, Bharat TradeNet, for international trade, and it will be a unified platform for trade documentation and financing solutions. This will complement the Unified Logistics Interface Program platform, Unified Logistics Interface platform. In order to support food processing exports, a National Food Technology Institute will be set up in Bihar, and it will enhance value addition. The duration of export of handicraft manufactured from duty-free imports by bona fide exporters will be extended to 1 year, further extendable by 3 months. A release from Department of Commerce says India's trade deficit in maritime services is about $50 billion, and development of Indian shipping lines is likely to address this trade deficit. Shipbuilding financial assistance policy will be revamped, including credit notes for shipbreaking to support circular economy. The Maritime Development Fund of 25,000 crore will be used to finance long-term industry growth with 49% contribution. In a move to integrate with global supply chains, the government will support development of domestic manufacturing capacities. Export growth requires infrastructure development, and budget says the government will facilitate upgradation of infrastructure and warehousing for air cargo, including high value perishable horticulture produce. In services sector, the government will support growth of tourism and the financial services. A national framework will be formulated to promote global capability sector centers in tier 2 cities, focusing on talent, infrastructure, and regulatory reforms. In the services sector, the government will support growth of tourism and financial services. A national framework will be formulated to promote global capability centers, focusing on talent, infrastructure, and regulatory reforms. Economy. Our endeavor will be to keep our fiscal deficit such that union government debt remains on a declining path as a percentage of GDP. Agriculture allocation stagnates in FY26. Allocation to the Agriculture Department and Farmers Welfare does not include allied activities, declined to 2.5% of the total budget from 28% in FY25. Allocation to flagship schemes, F Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana and Prime Minister Kisan PM Kisan declined in FY26 budget estimates. In FY26, allocation to Agriculture Department and Farmer Welfare declined to 2.5% of total budget. FY20 में ये 3.51 था, FY21 में 3.08 और अभी 2.51. Allocation to flagship schemes Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana and PM Kisan declined in FY26 budget estimates. Aims to provide farmers from lower income groups with a payment of 6,000 in quarterly installments of 2,000, and PMFBY is a scheme to stabilize farmers' income by providing comprehensive insurance cover against failure of the crop. The budget prioritizes economic progress by placing emphasis on tax reforms and innovation without losing sight of the fiscal deficit. Tax reforms and innovation without losing sight of the fiscal deficit target. Double allocation for employment generation scheme. Union Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said the new employment generation scheme formulated to support employment generation across the country will receive 20,000 crore. New employment generation scheme formulated to support employment generation across the country will receive 20,000 crore. For the Labour Ministry, the allocation has been increased from 18,000 crore to 32,000 crore in this budget. The employment generation scheme was announced in the 24-25 budget with an outlay of 10,000 crore. In the revised estimate, allocation was 6,700 crore. Minister said comprehensive multi-sectoral rural prosperity and resilience program will be launched in partnership with states to address underemployment in agriculture through skilling, investment, technology and invigorating the rural economy. There is a meager increase in the allocation to the employment employees pension scheme. This budget, the EPS received 11,000 crore. The Provident Fund pensioners have been demanding a minimum pension fund of 7,500 crore and the budget has not allocated any amount to increase the minimum pension from the present figure of 1,000. The opposition trade union said the budget does not address the economic realities, the phenomena of continuing slowdown in the economy and its devastating effect on lives and livelihood of the mass of the people, together with the fortune of the corporates climbing an obscene height, reflects an ugly perversion in the entire economic policy regime. Our endeavor will be to keep the fiscal deficit such that the union government's debt remains on a declining path as a percentage of GDP. Budget allocations for key agriculture schemes see dip. Sector gets 1,27,000 crore, 1,27,000 crore, 1 lakh. Sector gets 1,27,000 crore allocation from crop insurance schemes down by 3,000 crores. Cut in funds for fertilizers may hit subsidy. Kisan credit card subsidized loan limit increased to 5 lakhs. Calling the agriculture sector the first engine of growth, Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Saturday announced schemes such as Prime Minister Dhanya Dhanya Krishi Yojana, a scheme that is likely to benefit 1.7 crore farmers in 100 districts with low crop production. For the sector, in the budget on Saturday, Union Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan said the budget will help in all-round development of the sector. Farmer organizations, however, are unhappy with the budget and said it will lead to further rise in input cost in farming. Allocation to the Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare has come down by 3,900 crore from the revised estimates of 24-25. The allocation for the next financial year is 1,27,000 crore. In the revised estimate, the allocation was 1,31,000 crore. For the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana crop insurance scheme, the allocation this time has dropped by 3,600 crore. It has also got 12,000 crore against this crore this time against 15,000 crore of the last revised estimates. The allocation for the fertilizer department has been cut by 26,000 crore from the last year's revised estimates of 1,83,000 crore. It has come down to 1,56,000 crore. This is likely to impact fertilizer subsidy. It has also been announced that the loan limit under the modified interest subvention scheme will be enhanced from 3 lakh to 5 lakh for loans taken through Kisan credit cards. that facilitate short-term loans for 7.7 crore farmers, fishermen and dairy farmers. Minister also announced the launch of a 6-year-long mission for Atmanirbharta, self-reliance in pulses, with a special focus on tur, urad, and masoor varieties of pulses. Minister has allocated 100 crore to establish a Makhana board in Bihar to improve production, processing, value addition and marketing of Makhana fox seeds. The fisheries and the animal husbandry departments will get about 1,500 crore more than the last revised estimates to enhance India's competitiveness in the global seafood market. I propose to reduce the basic customs duty from 30% to 5% on frozen fish paste surimi for manufacture and export of its analog project. I also propose to reduce the basic custom duty from 5% to 15% to 5% on fish hydrolysate for manufacture of fresh and shrimp feeds. The Samyukt Kisan Morcha said the budget neglected the demand for legalized minimum support price and comprehensive scheme to waive farm loans. It has announced a protest on February 5. Center is trying to make India food basket of the world. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, while presenting her eighth budget in Parliament on Saturday, said the center is trying to make a country food basket of the world. Ms. Sitharaman said the center will establish a National Institute of Food Technology, Entrepreneurship and Management in the Bihar. National Institute of Food Technology, Entrepreneurship and Management in Bihar. This institute will provide a strong fillip to fruit processing activities in the entire eastern region. The minister said a second gene bank with 10 lakh germ plasm lines will be set up for future food and nutritional security. This will provide conservation support to both public and private sectors for genetic resources. The allocation for the Food and Public Distribution Ministry increased from 2 lakh crore to 2.11 lakh crore to 2.11 lakh crore from 2.05 lakh crore in 24-25 revised estimates. Out of this, 2.03 crore food is for food subsidy schemes, primarily for the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. In the last budget, the total allocation was 2.13 lakh crore. The Department of Consumer Affairs, on the other hand, received a decreased allocation of 4,000 crore. In the revised estimates of the last financial year, it was 7,300 crore. A major decrease in the allocation is in the allocation of price stabilization fund. In this budget, the fund will get 4,000 crore. In the last revised estimate, it was around 7,000 crore. The amount was 10,000 crore, while in the last budget the amount was 10,000 crore. Center has been claiming that it is taking strident measures to check prices of commodities such as onion, pulses and edible oils. For the Ministry of Food Processing Industries, the allocation in this budget is 4,300 crore. In the last revised estimate, it was 2,700 crore. Major increase is for the Prime Minister formalization of micro food processing enterprises scheme. Prime Minister formalization of micro food enterprises scheme. Prime Minister formalization of micro food enterprises scheme. Economy. A high level committee for regulatory reforms will be set up for a review of all non financial sector regulations to enhance ease of doing business. A high level committee will be set up. A high level committee for regulatory reforms. A high level committee for regulatory reforms will be set up for a review of all non financial sector regulations to enhance ease of doing business. Allocation for defense dips. In FY26 budget estimates, defense expenditure as a share of budget decreased to 13.45% compared with FY25 revised estimates. Allocation to the Department of Space stagnated while allocation to science improved significantly to 0.76%. With new allocation for the defense dips for in finance financial year 26 budget estimates defense expenditure as a share of budget decreased to 13.45% compared to revised estimate 13.59%. Allocation to the Department of Space stagnated. Allocation to the science improved significantly to 0.76%. In FY19 it was 17%, while it is now 13.45%. Department of Space is 0.26% and Ministry of Science and Technology it is highest 0.76%. With a with the new tax slabs, the push for higher agricultural productivity and stronger MSMEs, we have the perfect recipe for rapid economic growth. 6.81 lakh crore set aside for defense. Of these, of the total allocation, 1.8 lakh crore has been earmarked for capital expenditure and modernization of armed forces, and a meager 4.65% increase from the previous budget estimate. Allocation for the Indian Coast Guard and Border Roads Organization has increased. The capital expenditure, the capital allocation for the Defense Ministry saw a meager 4.65% increase to 1.8 lakh crore from the previous estimates, which is important considering inflation and currency fluctuations, as the armed forces are likely to return 12,500 crore from the budget estimates to the revised estimates of the 24-25. The capital allocation for the Defense Ministry saw a meager 4.65% increase to 1.8 lakh crore from the previous estimates, which is important considering inflation and currency fluctuations. As the armed forces are likely to return 12,000 crore from a budget estimate to the revised estimates of 24-25, total allocation of the Defence Ministry for 25-26 stood at 6.81 lakh crore, which represents year increase of 9.53% and constitutes 13.45% of the budget, the highest among the ministries. Of the 6.81 lakh crore allocation of the next fiscal, revenue allocation was 3 lakh crore, capital was 1.8 lakh crore, and defense pension stood at 1.6 lakh crore, and civil 28,000 crore. Of the 1.8 lakh crore, Of the 1.8 lakh crore, 1 lakh 48,000 crore is planned to be spent on capital acquisition, termed as modernization budget of the armed forces, and remaining 31,000 crore is for capital expenditure is on research and development and creation of infrastructural assets across the country. Of the total capital allocation, 1.12 lakh crore is earmarked for procurement of domestic industries. The money to be returned by the service highlights the long drawn and often protected delays in the defense procurement process. The allocation for Indian Coast Guard saw a significant jump year on year, 26% overall, and even higher 43% in the capital budget. This increase is primarily in line with the focus of government on capability development of the ICG and equipping them with modern equipment. The ICG not only strengthens coastal security but also provides assistance to neighboring countries and commercial ships during the emergency. Specifically on the steep hike in capital budget from 3,500 crore year on year to 5,000 crore, Ministry said it will provide adequate space for acquisition of advanced light helicopters, Dornier aircraft, fast patrol vessels, training ships, and interceptor boats. Defense pensions got a 13.87 hike year on year, going to 1.6 lakh crore, which the ministry said will take care of inflationary trends and provide comfort to the ex-servicemen and their dependents for maintaining a better lifestyle. The Border Roads Organization got 7,000 crore under the capital head, 9.474% higher than the budget estimate of 24-25. The financial provision for the FY 25-26 for BRO will not only promote strategic interest of the nation in border areas by constructing tunnels, bridges and roads such as LCG Damteng Yangtze in Arunachal Pradesh, LCG Damteng Yangtze in Arunachal Pradesh, LCG Damteng Yangtze in Arunachal Pradesh, Asha Chima Anita in Jammu and Kashmir, Asha Chima Anita in Jammu and Kashmir, but will also boost socio-economic development, the ministry said. BRO has created employment opportunities by employing 70,000 local youths and contributed to the local economies, fostering long-term employability and skill development. Quality of defense spending improves. The share of revenue expenditure in the overall defense outlay dropped while the share of capital expenditure increased, leading to an improvement in quality of expenditure. Share of revenue expenditure in overall defense outlay has dropped, capital expenditure बढ़ गया है. तो जैसे देखें फाइनेंशियल ईयर 19 में कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर 24% था, रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर 75% था. अभी कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर हैज बीन रेज्ड टू 28.2% एंड 71.8% इज रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर. फिर Table 2 is allocation for various schemes as share of Science Ministry's total budget. For instance, in FY 26, 5% of science budget was allocated to NRF. तो budget for Science Ministry in FY 26 is 38,000 crore. बहुत ज़्यादा है. It is an increase of 0.6 percentage. 0.6% of the budget as a share of budget. So 38,000 crore का बजट है साइंस मिनिस्ट्री का. उसमें से 2.33 is for cyber physical systems, NQM is for 1.55 is for national quantum mission, NRF के लिए 5.18% है, CSIR के लिए 17% है और बायोटेक्नोलॉजी रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट के लिए 0%. बायोटेक्नोलॉजी रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट के लिए 0%. अरे allocation for various schemes as a share of space ministries total budget. For instance, in FY26 over 76% of its budget is allocated for space technology. For example, FY19 में 11,000 crore था स्पेस का बजट, अभी FY26 में 13,000 crore है. स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजी के लिए 76%, स्पेस एप्लीकेशंस के लिए 12.7% एंड स्पेस साइंसेस के लिए 2.8%. स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजी में आते हैं विक्रम साराभाई स्पेस सेंटर, ISRO Inertial Systems Unit, Liquid Propulsion System Center, Satish Dhawan Space Center, Human Space Flight Center, etc. Space applications में Space Application Center, National Remote Sensing Center, Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, and Space Sciences में Aditya L1, Chandrayaan 3, X-ray, Polarimeter mission, and Space Docking Experiment, etc. The budget for defense falls short. The marginal increase might not be enough to meet the needs of the defense forces for indigenization. The union budget for 25-26 earmarked 6.81 lakh crore or 13.4% of total union government expenditure for the defense ministry. Of the ministry's total budget, 4.92 lakh crore or 72% is for the defense services, primarily the Army, Navy, Air Force and DRDO. About 1.61 lakh crore is amounting to 24% of the ministry's total outlays is provision to meet pensionary expenses of the defense services and the balance 28,000 crore or 4% to cater the civil organizations of the ministry, which include the Border Road Organization and Indian Coast Guard. Coming against the backdrop of a volatile regional and social security environment, the defense budget evokes several pertinent questions, including about its adequacy to meet the needs of the defense forces and its impact on the indigenization that the Modi government pursues through the Make in India initiative. Although the Defense Ministry's budget has been hiked by a recent 9.53%, much of the hike will be neutralized by prevailing inflation, about 5%, and a weakening domestic currency vis-a-vis US dollar. To further compound these problems, the budget has little freedom to improve the freedom of defense forces. Historically, defense budget has been dominated by its manpower cost. Salary and pension accounts for 53% of the ministry's latest budget, leaving the balance to be thinly spread too far too less. To further compound these problems, budget has little freedom to improve the firepower of the defense forces. The defense budget has been dominated by its manpower cost. Salary and pension account for 53% of the ministry's latest budget, leaving the balance to be thinly spread on the host of other critical items of the expenditure which are vital for the modernization of armed forces. The capital expenditure of the defense services, much of what is spent on capital acquisitions and is vital for defense modernization, has been pegged at 1.8 lakh crore, an increase of 4.7%. The marginal increase has come after over 7% reduction in the previous capital budget. The underutilization of the previous budget will and marginal increase in the capital expenditure will slow down the modernization and indigenization process going forward. Nonetheless, Defense Ministry plans to sign several mega contracts including the long endurance drones, deck based fighters, next generation submarines in the coming fiscal year. While sticking to the same indigenization plan as articulated in the previous budget to promote Make in India in defense, Ministry has earmarked 75% of its new capital procurement budget of 1.49 crore for procurement from the domestic industry, with 25% of the share being reserved for the Indian private sector. While a big share for domestic industry is a welcome step, the Defense Ministry requires a much bigger kitty. As a percentage of GDP, the ministry's latest budget amounts to just 1.9%, a share too low for a country that faces two nuclear rivals. The government needs to step up its spending on defense to at least 22.5% of GDP in the near to medium term and 3% thereafter. A big push for border infrastructure and management. The Union Home Ministry has allocated 2.33 lakh crore with substantial enhancement in budget for border infrastructure and crime and criminal tracking network systems, a key platform to implement three criminal laws. A total of 2.19 lakh crore, 2.2 lakh crore was allocated in the ministry's budget last year. Border infrastructure and management has been allocated 5.5 lakh crore and increased of 1.8 lakh crore from 3700 crore allocated last year. The provision is putting is for putting up barbed wire fencing, construction of roads and observation post towers, installation of floodlights, and induction of high-tech surveillance along Bangladesh and Pakistan borders. The money will be spent on construction activities along international borders, for setting up of mobile checkposts in coastal areas for better surveillance, to check illegal activities. The allocation for relief and rehabilitation of migrants and repatriates have been reduced to 539 crore to 123 crore has been reduced. A sum of 574 crore has been allocated for census survey and to the Statistics and Registrars General of India, compared with the 1000 crore in July 24 budget. The census has been indefinitely delayed since 2011. Funds for police forces of the allocation of the Ministry of Home Affairs 1.6 lakh crore has been given to the Central Armed Police Forces. Along these, Central Reserve Police Forces gets the highest allocation of 35,000 crore, from revised estimate of 34,000 crore in 24-25, followed by BSF, CISF 16,000 crore, ITBP, SSB, and the Assam Rifles 8,000 crore. The Intelligence Bureau gets 3,800 crore in 24-25, Delhi Police 11,000 crore, and the Special Protection Group 489 crore in 24-25. Entrepreneurial loans announced to boost independence of women. The union budget focuses on enhancing financial independence of women and providing them an enabling atmosphere to work. The aim is to get 70% women in economic activities, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said in a budget speech. In order to facilitate financial independence for women, the budget announced a new scheme under which 5 lakh women would be provided entrepreneurship loans up to 2 crore for the next 5 years. The total allocation for Women and Child Development Ministry is 26,000 crore. This is an increase from the revised estimate of 23,000 crore last year. The allocation in the last budget was 26,000 crore. One of the biggest allocation is for Saksham Anganwadi Portion 2.0, which has received 21,000 crore. Mission Vatsalya, which focused on child protection services, has seen an increase to 1500 crores from 1300 crore last year. The budget interventions was largely welcomed by women organizations and industry bodies. Increase in outlay for higher education and global skilling. The 25-26 Union Budget's education-related announcements largely pertain to high-end capabilities. This budget has proposed to set up an AI Center of Excellence on Education, allocating 500 crore to it. The budget speech noted that the total number of students in 23 IITs has more than doubled from 65,000 to 1.35 lakh students in the past 10 years. This year, 10,000 more seats in medical colleges and hospitals will be added as a part of initiative to add 75,000 seats in the next 10 years. Outlay increases has been seen to higher education, Indian knowledge systems, central universities, centrally sponsored schemes, and students' financial aid. Higher education received 7.7% more this year compared to last year. A Bharat Bhasha Pustak scheme, a Bharatiya Bhasha Pustak scheme, will provide Indian language books in digital form to schools. This will significantly boost UGC's mission efforts to prepare 22,000 textbooks for UG, undergraduate, and PG studies in 22 Indian languages. In a key new initiative, 50,000 Atal Tinkering Labs will be set up in government schools to cultivate the spirit of curiosity and innovation and foster a scientific temper among youth minds. This will come over and above providing broadband connectivity to all government secondary schools, and primary health centers in rural areas. The budget talks about setting up five national centers of excellence for skilling and partnerships to equip youth with skills required for Make in India, Make for the World manufacturing. The partnerships will cover curriculum design, training of trainers, etc. Social sector. Since 2019, 15 crore households, representing 80% of India's rural population, have been provided access to potable tap water connections. Social sector spending improves. In financial year 26, budget estimates allocations for social sectors such as health, rural development, social welfare, and school education as a share of the budget increased, with higher education being the only exception. Health में 1.94%, rural development 5.27%, higher education 0.99%, school education 1.55%, and social welfare is 1.19% of India's budget. Cancer care centers in every district across the country will further modernize and health and medical infrastructure across the country. Baba Kalyani, Chairman and MD Bharat Forge Limited. An insurance infra push for healthcare. While health research gets a fillip, the digital health gets energized, and primary healthcare lacks the needed support. The Union Budget of 25-26 provides support to healthcare delivery through increased investment in infrastructure and expansion of healthcare health workforce. It aims at making more affordable some life-saving drugs needed for treating cancer, other chronic diseases, and some rare diseases. It also seeks to expand the coverage of health insurance while providing incentives for the private sector-led medical tourism. While health research gets a needed boost and digital health gets energized, primary healthcare does not get the needed support. Health research and child nutrition programs get greater support, but adolescent health and adult nutrition do not benefit from the budgetary initiatives. In her budgetary speech, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced support to create 75,000 more undergraduate seats in medical colleges over the next 5 years, starting with 10,000 more seats in the coming year. This will help meet health workforce shortages that are limiting access to needed healthcare services, even as the demand for health services will increase owing to growing aging population. The budget does not refer to other sections of the health workforce. Compared to with the previous budget, the proposed allocation for health has increased by 9.7%. This includes 9.4% increase for Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and 7.55% increase for Ayush Ministry, and an 18% increase for Health Research ICMR and Department of Health Research. Ayushman Bharat Infrastructure Mission gets a 26% increase, while the support of private sector initiatives to promote medical tourism has been announced. There is no budgetary increase for the Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana, which is a vehicle for strengthening the government's tertiary care institutions. Among the major health programs, the public funded Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana gets a substantial boost of 28%. However, the National Health Mission gets only a 3.77% increase. This is surprising as the NHM is the principal vehicle for strengthening primary care services and district hospitals. A welcome announcement proposes to exempt customs duties on 36 life-saving drugs that are needed for treating cancer as well as other chronic and rare diseases, while also reducing duties on 6 more. It needs to be seen how far the pharmaceutical industries will pass on these benefits to the patients through reduced drug prices. Support for daycare centers for cancer treatment in district hospitals was announced. Full exemption and concessional duties will extend to bulk drugs which are needed to manufacture medicines in India. Overall, the budget focuses more on delivering curative care than on health promotion and disease prevention. While farmer is certainly needed, more needs to be done to keep the population healthy. Science Ministry gets a hefty hike to augment R&D in a quest to boost private sector research and development in India. Union budget has allocated 20,000 crore to the Ministry of Science and Technology for research, development and innovation. Typically, the ministry's annual budget has averaged around 6,000 to 8,000 crore. This is a historic allocation and could go a long way towards encouraging R&D investments in the private sector. Ashutosh Sharma, former secretary to Department of Science and Technology, said in her interim budget speech, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman indicated that a campus corpus of 1 lakh crore would be set up with a 50-year interest-free loan. Corpus will provide long-term financing or refinancing with long-term tenures and low or nil interest rates. This will encourage the private sector to scale up the research and innovation in sunrise domains. We need to have programs that combine the powers of our youth and technology. Science Ministry officials said that the current allocation pertained to this. The first tranche of 20,000 crore is a part of the fund announced in July and will be used to fund private sector and startups in the sunrise sector. The ministry is the country's largest civilian funder of basic sciences research and expects to spend 25,000 crore in 25-26, up from 5,600 crore this year. In 23-24, it actually spent 4,000 crore. The field is broad enough to encompass a variety of sectors. Several startups in biotechnology, for instance, too can access these funds, said Rajesh Gokhale, Secretary of the Department of Biotechnology, which along with DST and CSIR constitutes the Ministry of Science and Technology. The DBT has been provisioned 3,400 crore, 50% jump from 2,440 crore allocated in 24-25. CSIR expects to spend 6,600 crore in 25-26, similar to the 6,300 crore spent in 24-25. India currently spends less than 1% of GDP on research and development, which is low compared to technologically advanced countries. In a big boost, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana to now provide health cover for gig workers. Center will arrange their identity cards and registration on the eShram portal. It is unclear whether benefits will be extended to family members. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Saturday announced that gig workers would be provided health care under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. This ensures that nearly 1 crore workers would get health care in designated medical care facilities across India. Gig workers enter into formal agreements with on-demand companies to provide services to the latter clients. Brands such as Zomato, Swiggy, Amazon, and Flipkart employ them. Gig workers provide great dynamism to the new age services economy. Recognizing their contribution, our government will arrange their identity cards and registration on the eShram portal, the minister said in the budget speech. Workers can avail themselves of health care under the scheme based on their registration and universal account number. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said government's welfare initiatives for gig workers underscored its commitment to the dignity of labor. At present, there is no clarity on whether the families of gig workers would be covered under the scheme. Dinkar Vashisht, Vice President Corporate Affairs at Swiggy, called the move encouraging. Swiggy and several other platforms have been providing health and other forms of insurance to our delivery partners. We will await further details to understand how insurance can continue to be best provided. Trade union Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh said registration on eShram portal would ensure recognition of gig workers and aid their inclusion in the social security framework. Social sector pie expands outlays for the schemes under the Ministry of Rural Development such as National Social Assistance Program and the flagship Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme declined as a share of the budget. In contrast, outlay for rural infrastructure schemes for housing and roads increased. Outlays for the Ayushman Bharat as a share of India's budget increased significantly to 0.19% in FY26, while allocation for all schemes under the School Education Department increased. Outlays for schemes under the Higher Education Department stagnated. National Social Assistance Program 0.2%. It was it has decreased from 1.2%. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme 1.7. Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, it is 0.4%. Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana National Rural Livelihoods Mission, it is 0.4%. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Rural, it is 1.1%. Health Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana PMJ 0.2%. Samagra Shiksha 0.8%. Pradhan Mantri Poshan Shakti Nirman PM Poshan 0.3%. And PM Schools for Rising India PM Shri 0.2%. University Grant Commission 0.1. Grants to central universities 0.3, IITs zero point 0.2, IIMs 0.005005, National Institutes of Technology and IIEST 0.1. Infrastructure. An outlay of 1.5 lakh crore is proposed for 50-year interest-free loans to states for capital expenditure as and as incentives for reforms. Spending on road telecom declines in financial year 26 budget estimates. Share of road transport and telecom in total budget declined while allocation for power stagnated. The share of housing and urban affairs in the budget improved significantly. So road from 5.95 to 5.67%, telecom के लिए 1.6%, power 4.43% and housing has been increased from 1.35 to 1.91%. The budget places more disposable income in the hands of Indian consumer. This will encourage private sector capex. Anisha, Group CEO and MD, Mahindra Group. Center banks on asset monetization. Finance Minister says asset worth 10 lakh crore to be monetized for infrastructure growth. Ministry plans to bring in capital expenditure through PPP mode. Sovereign wealth funds and pension funds given an extension of 5 years to make an investment in infrastructure. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said on Saturday that 10 lakh crore worth of assets will be monetized in the next 5 years as a second installment of the National Monetization Plan. Regulatory and fiscal measures will be fine-tuned to support the plan, the finance minister said in her budget speech, which made other announcements to improve infrastructure development. Asset monetization involves existing public assets to encourage private investment. The related developments that own these often idle assets can transfer to private investors for a limited period of time, and concession can be granted to the private entities that want to utilize these assets. The first proposal was made in 21 and the target up to 25 was 6 lakh crore. In addition to asset monetization, the finance minister mentioned plans to bring in capital expenditure through the PPP mode, a method which has slowed down for a while. The finance ministry suggested that all ministries related to infrastructure prepare project pipeline for the next 3 years. This is expected to shake up the slowing investments in the PPP route. States will also be expected to prepare proposals for projects funded by loans and India Infrastructure Project Development Fund. Moreover, Ms. Sitaraman promised to provide certainty regarding taxation of alternate investment funds and investing in infrastructure. Sovereign wealth funds and pension funds have also been given an extension for 5 years to make an investment in the infrastructure. Although the government's capital expenditure allocation has increased moderately, the emphasis is likely to shift towards effective implementation towards the public private partnership model. This is evident from initiatives aimed at creating a 3 year pipeline of projects, annual monetization plan, access to PM Gati Shakti, data ensuring steady stream of investments and timely execution. While some stakeholders are positive about the announcements to improve investment, experts, however, say that the potential of the announcements to yield results is too optimistic. The increase in private investment would require some kind of crowd-in for the private investment, which unfortunately has not happened despite the capex. The emphasis is likely to shift towards effective implementation through the PPP mode. This is evident from initiatives aimed at creating 3 year pipeline of projects, annual monetization of a plan, and access to PM Gati Shakti portal, PM Gati Shakti data, ensuring a steady stream of investments and timely execution. Sovereign wealth fund and pension funds have also been given an extension of 5 years to make the investment in infrastructure. Alternative investment. Moreover, Ms. Sitaraman promised to provide certainty regarding taxation of alternative investment funds investing in infrastructure. Government prioritizes job creation inclusivity. The budget the budget's 10 broad focus areas include job driven growth and investing in people and innovation. Today's budget, announced by Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, has received an overwhelmingly positive response from across the nation. Presenting her eighth consecutive budget, the Finance Minister introduced a series of transformative initiatives that are significant steps towards fostering economic growth, job creation, and inclusivity, reflecting the government's commitment to building a resilient and dynamic industrial ecosystem. The Economic Survey noted that the government's focus on empowering citizens through education, healthcare, skill development, and social infrastructure development, it said that to fully capitalize on the demographic dividend, it is well recognized that creating quality jobs that offer sustainable livelihoods is crucial. By prioritizing reskilling, upskilling, and new skilling, the government aims to align the workforce with global demands. The union budget has 10 broad focus areas, including inclusive growth path, enabling employment-led development, and investing in people, economy, and innovation. In line with these, Bharatiya Bhasha Pustak Scheme announced in the budget will digitize Indian language books for education and 5 national centers of excellence for skilling developing developed 5 national center of excellence for skilling will support workforce development. Furthermore, a center of excellence in artificial intelligence for education will bolster India's technological landscape. Medical education will see a major boost with 10,000 additional seats, targeting a total 75,000 over the next 5 years. Daycare cancer centers will be established in all district hospitals. In addition, the government has expanded the list of custom duty exempted medicines, including 36 life saving drugs, along with new medicines for rare diseases. To give a thrust to research programs, in the next 5 years, the government will provide 10,000 fellowships for technological research at the IITs and IISc. The government also unveiled several social development initiatives. Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0 will strengthen child nutrition, while Atal Tinkering Labs will see 50,000 labs set up in government schools within 5 years. In rural areas, broadband connectivity will reach all government secondary schools and primary healthcare centers, fostering equitable growth across the nation. In a move to encourage women entrepreneurship, a new scheme targeting first time entrepreneurs, especially women and individuals from scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, will offer loans up to 2 crore to 5 lakh new business owners over the next 5 years. This initiative aligns with the nation's ambition of achieving Viksit Bharat by 2047. The collective measures embody the government's vision of empowering the economy, creating jobs, and driving sustainable growth, laying a strong foundation for a resilient and inclusive India by 2047. Jal Jeevan Mission extended till 2028 with enhanced outlay, indicative of the challenges in executing the ambitious Jal Jeevan Mission. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ambitious promise to provide potable tap water to all rural households by 2024. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, in her budget speech on Saturday, said the scheme would now be completed by 2028. Announcing an enhanced outlay without specifying an amount, which underlined that mission's focus would be on quality of infrastructure, operation, and management of rural piped water supply schemes through people's participation. So far, 80% of the households have piped water connection, up from 15%. To this end, government has spent 3.6 lakh crore since 2019. A perusal of budget document shows that nodal Jal Shakti Ministry expects 67,000 crore in 25-26. This is little less than 69,000 crore it actually spent in 23-24. In 24-25, Ministry provision to spend 70,000 crore, but as of February expect to spend only 22,000 crore. A source privy to workings of the mission requesting anonymity told The Hindu that the scheme's first target the low-hanging fruit of ensuring water supply to places that had most of the infrastructure in place but no last-mile connectivity. This approach pushed for the coverage up to 50%. Following this, the increased coverage of households became tougher. Another challenge emerged during the pandemic and Russian-Ukraine war, rising the prices of equipment. When the scheme was envisioned, the outlay of nearly 7 lakh crore, with half to be borne by the states, now we require nearly 4 lakh crore to complete the scheme. This means the Jal Shakti Ministry requires nearly as much as it used from 29-24 to complete the remaining 20%. Centre proposes fund of 1 lakh crore to develop cities. The centre will set up urban challenge fund of 1 lakh crore to implement the proposals for cities as growth hubs, creative development of cities and water and sanitation. It was announced in the union budget on Saturday. All three programs were announced in the budget presented in July. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said this fund would finance up to 25% of the cost of bankable projects, with stipulation that at least 50% of the cost is funded from bonds, bank loans, and public private partnerships. An allocation of 10,000 crore was proposed for 25-26. The budget proposal that National Geospatial Mission would be started to develop foundational geospatial infrastructure and data. This mission would facilitate modernization of land records, urban planning, and design of infrastructure projects. She said a scheme for the uplift of urban workers would be implemented to help them improve their incomes and have sustainable livelihoods and a better quality of life. Higher lighting of the higher lighting Highlighting the success of PM Swanidhi scheme, she said building on this success, the scheme will be revamped, will enhance loans from banks, UPI credit linked cards with 30,000 limits and capacity building support. PM Swanidhi is a special micro credit facility for providing affordable loans to street vendors. Special micro credit facility for providing affordable loans to street vendors. She said under the special window for affordable and mid housing Swami, 50,000 dwelling units and street stressed housing projects had been completed. Another 40,000 units would be completed in 2025. Building on this success, Swami Fund will be set up with a blended finance facility with contributions from the government, banks, and private investors. This fund of 15,000 crore will aim expeditious completion of another 1 lakh units. Fund allocation for roads hiked by 2.4% annual growth in budgetary allocation for the Ministry of Road Transport Highways continued to see a decline for the second year in a row. Ministry received allocation of 2.87 lakh crore, mere 2.4% increase from the revised estimate of 2.8 lakh crore and a 3.3% increase in comparison to 24-25 of 2.78 lakh crore. Last year fiscal allocation was 2.7% in increase in the compared to the budget estimate for 23-24. Over the last year, roads received a major push with fiscal hikes ranging from 20%. Only in 26-2017 there was an increase in allocation of a mere 1.2% at 1.7 lakh crore. Nearly 60% of allocation had been set aside for National Highway Authority of India. The provision for road projects and frontier highways in Arunachal Pradesh for improved connectivity for international borders and in the northeastern region under the Special Accelerated Road Development Program stand at 85,000 crore, registering a decline of 34% as compared with the revised estimates of FY25 at 11,000 crore, 400 crore. Last fiscal allocation was 2.7% in last fiscal's push for roads. Last fiscal's allocation was 2.7% increase in compared to the budget estimate of 223-24. Over the last year, roads received a major push in the fiscal hikes ranging from 20% 2017-18 to 68% 2019-20. Only in 2016-17 there was an increase in allocation of merely 1.2%. At 1.7 lakh crore, nearly 60% of the allocation has been set aside for National Highways Authority of India. The provision for road projects and frontier highways in Arunachal Pradesh for improved connectivity to the international border in the northeastern region under the Special Accelerated Road Development Program. Special Accelerated Road Development Program stands at 8,500 crore, registering a decline of 34% as compared to the revised estimates of FY25 at 11,400 crore. Outlay for the Road Transport and Highway Ministry declined as a share of total budget, with about 60% of it being spent on the Bharat Mala program and rest to develop national highways. Budget is 2,87,000 and NHAI Bharat Mala is 59% and 40% national highways and other roads. Outlay for telecom share in budget declined, with 27% of them being spent on BharatNet program broadband to Gram Panchayats. Telecom 81,000 crore, 24 is for pension, 35 is for compensation to service providers for creation and augmentation of telecom infrastructure, and 27 is for BharatNet. Outlay for Ministry on Housing and Urban Affairs increased as a share of budget 96,000 crore from 3,000 crore for 35% जाएगा MRTS and metro projects, urban rejuvenation and Mission Amrut and Smart Cities Mission 10%, and Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana 24.1%, and Swachh Bharat Abhiyan 5.2%. Infrastructure. To promote infrastructure funding from sovereign wealth funds and pension funds, I propose to extend the date of investment by 5 years. Spending on railways and railway decline in financial year budget estimates. The share of railways in total budget declined significantly from financial year revised estimates, with an allocation of aviation declining marginally and that of shipping stagnating. The budget has hit the perfect note. We have made a decisive move to world-class tax system which will be simple, transparent and friendly to taxpayers. Modified Udan to add 120 destinations. The Regional Air Connectivity Scheme, launched in April 2017 for 10 years, will get support for 10 more years. A major upgrade of infrastructure and warehousing for cargo, including for high value perishable horticulture produce, has been proposed in the budget. Udan, the air connectivity scheme for Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, has received government support for another 10 years, with Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announcing in her budget speech that it would be modified so that 120 new destinations are added to carry 4 crore passengers in the next 10 years. Udan, the air connectivity scheme for Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, has received government support for another 10 years, with Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announcing in her budget speech that it would be modified so that 120 new destinations are added to carry 4 crore more passengers in the next 10 years. The scheme has connected 88 airports and operationalized 619 routes. Inspired by that success, a modified Udan scheme will be launched to enhance regional connectivity to 120 destinations and carry 4 crore passengers in the next 10 years, she said. Of the 619 routes, 370 are active while rest are not. The budget announcement did not contain fresh allocation for Udan. Udan, also known as Regional Connectivity Scheme, saw its first flight take off on April 27, 2017 from Shimla to Delhi, with which the scheme was operationalized for 10 years. A sum of 4,500 crore was set aside for reviving unused and underused airports across the country. Later 1,000 crore more was allocated to the period from 23 to 26. It is reliably learned that nearly 4,500 crore out of 5,500 crore has been utilized so far. Apart from airport development and expansion under Udan, a subsidy is being given to participating airlines for offering 50% of the aircraft seats at a discounted fare of 2,500 for 1 hour of flight. This subsidy is paid from the levy collected from every non-Udan departing flight offered by various Airlines, which is passed to passengers. At the time of its launch, the RCS levy on non-Udan flights was less than 5,000, which was raised to 6,000 from January 1 to March 31, 2023, and 6,500 from April 1, 2023 to April 30, 2027. A government order on October 21, 22 to raise the levy of 10,000 and 15,000 was opposed by airlines and later resigned it. In Parliament last year, for Civil Aviation K. Ramohan Naidu said that the airlines would be allowed to rebid for routes after 3 year subsidy period expired as airlines were withdrawing from the RCS routes awarded to them after the expiry of the period during which the routes were not independently viable. In Parliament last year, Minister of Civil Aviation K. Ram Mohan Naidu said the airlines would be allowed to rebid for routes after 3 year subsidy period expired as airlines were withdrawing for RCS routes awarded to them after the expiry of the period during which the routes were not independently viable. The government could look at extending the incentive beyond 3 years by offering reduced subsidy amount, Stars Air CEO Simran Singh Tiwana told The Hindu. The airline operates nearly 22 RCS routes. The finance minister also announced that greenfield airports would be facilitated in Bihar to meet the future needs of the state. This will in addition to the expansion of capacity of the Patna airport and a brownfield airport at Bhita. For air cargo, the government will facilitate upgrading of infrastructure and warehousing of cargo, and including high-value perishable horticultural produce. The allocation for Ministry of Civil Aviation FY26 at 2,400 crore was 10% lower than the revised estimate of 2,600 crore for FY25. To promote infrastructure funding from sovereign wealth funds and pension funds, I propose to extend the date of investment by 5 years. Spending on railways decline in FY26 budget estimates the share of railways in total budget declined significantly from FY25 revised estimates, with the allocation of aviation declining marginally and that of shipping stagnating. So railway ministry is declined to 5.04% from 5.41%. Aviation is still 0.05% of the budget and shipping is 0.07. The budget has hit the perfect note. We have made a decisive move to a world-class tax system which will be simple, transparent and friendly to taxpayers. A bold blueprint for Digital India. Budget prioritizes technology-led growth, AI-driven modernization, and inclusive economic progress. India stands at a defining moment where AI-driven innovation, digital infrastructure, and future-ready workforce will determine its global leadership in the digital economy. The Union Budget is more than a fiscal plan; it is a bold blueprint for a stronger digital India, prioritizing technology-led development, AI modernization, and inclusive economic growth. As someone who has witnessed India's financial and technological evolution, I see this budget as a pivotal inflection point in our journey towards Viksit Bharat, one that is uh, built on innovation, sustainability, and inclusivity. The government's commitment to advancing AI and deep tech through initiatives like the Deep Tech Fund of Funds and 10,000 Fellowship for Technological Research in IITs and ISC reflects a vision for India to lead in automation and emerging technologies. The focus on global capability centers in Tier 2 cities will further unlock AI powered digital services. Scaling remains the linchpin of this transformation. With one of the world's largest talent pools, India has a unique opportunity to drive the AI revolution, but achieving this requires upskilling, industry collaboration, and democratized learning. The government investment in 50,000 adult tinkering labs, a 500 crore center of excellence for AI in education, and 5 national center for excellence for skilling align seamlessly with our mission at Salesforce. Micro, small, and medium enterprises or MSMEs are not just the backbone of India's economy, they are the engines of innovation and employment and economic resilience. By revising investment and turnover thresholds and enhancing credit availability, the government is ensuring that MSMEs can compete well on global stage. True digital transformation is built on diversity and inclusion. The government's 2 crore term loans scheme for the first time women entrepreneurs, scheduled caste and scheduled tribes demonstrates a strong commitment to fostering inclusive economic opportunities. Finally, India's sustainability ambitions take center stage with initiatives like National Manufacturing Mission, in investments in clean tech and AI enabled efficient energy efficiency solutions. Furthermore, has announced the nuclear energy mission aims at developing 1,000 gigawatt of nuclear power by 2047, marking significant step in India's clean energy transition. This initiative strengthens energy security and sustainability while supporting growing demand for high performance AI driven data centers. India's journey towards Viksit Bharat is driven by technology, digital infrastructure, and workforce skilling. The union budget accelerates economic growth while empowering businesses and individuals to lead the nation's digital transformation. The budget's focus on AI driven modernization, digital skilling, and startup growth aligns with that vision. Top 50 tourist destinations to be developed in challenge mode. In a significant boost to tourism, the union budget on Sunday allocated funds for the development of top 50 tourist destinations in partnership with state governments through a challenge mode. While the state governments will be responsible for providing land for infrastructure development, hotels in these destinations will be included in the harmonized master plan. Government will promote homestays by extending mudra loans and organizing skill development programs in hospitality institutes. Additionally, e-visa facilities will be streamlined and visa-free waived for select tourist groups to attract international visitors. Medical tourism and Heal in India will be promoted in partnership with private sector. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced in her budget speech the allocation for Ministry of 25-26 stands at 22,500 crore, up from the revised estimates of 850 crore. The new initiatives were welcomed by the travel and tourism industry. New tourism destinations are likely to emerge given the proposed development of the top 50 tourist destination sites in partnership with states through the challenge mode. The creation of hotel room supply in these locations under the infrastructure list will be fast tracked. Rajiv Mehra, president of Indian Association of Tour Operations, said several aspects in the budget are highly positive for the tourism sector, such as extension of Udan for 120 new cities. 2.65 lakh crore for railways budget for amenities cut. The budget allocation for railways stands at 2.65 lakh crore, the same as last year. The allocation of passenger amenities and investments in the public sector units and joint ventures have been slashed. At a press briefing following the union budget, the Union Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw said the railway capex stands at 2.52 lakh crore from a total of 2.65 lakh crore allocation that includes public-private partnership investments. Sources in the railways told Hindu that of the allocation allocated 2.65 lakh crore, the expenditure so far this year stood at 2.09 lakh crore, 79%. The actual utilization of the budget for 23-24 stood at 2.45 lakh crore. Budget documents revealed. To a question on allocation, Mr. Vaishnaw said the unchanged allocation indicated the overall continuous push for capex is being maintained. New projects that has been considered while framing the budget run up to 4.6 lakh crore. If one rail project gets approved, the life cycle of that project will run for 4 to 5 years. These new projects take into account laying of new lines, doubling, quadrupling, flyovers, underpasses, construction of new workshops, plants and machinery in the workshop, rolling stock and station redevelopment. The allocation for passenger amenities has continued to decline from 15,000 crore in 24-25 budget estimate to 12,000 crore revised estimates and now to 12,000 crore in 25-26. Cargo milestone. Mr. Vaishnav said by March 25 railways will achieve an important milestone of 1.6 billion ton cargo carrying capacity. Allocation to dedicated freight corridor of India, a unit of the railways, decreased from 5,000 crore in 24-25 to 500 crore in 25-26. A much needed fillip to shipbuilding, the union budget has sought to kickstart the building of merchant ship that had ground to a halt in recent decades. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has promised that the shipbuilding financial assistance policy will be revamped to address cost disadvantages, with shipyards and ports already on the infrastructure. Harmonized master list large ship will also be included. Giving infrastructure status to large ships will cut financial cost and promote their construction. For ship breaking, the extended credit notes and existing customs duty for imports will gird up the activity. The new measures will help shipbreak take more advantage of the current turmoil in Bangladesh, which has disrupted shipbreaking there. The budget talks about expanding the range, categories, and capacity of the shipbuilding clusters for long-term financing of maritime industry. Maritime Development Fund with a corpus of 25,000 crore will be set up. Basic custom duty will continue to exempted for inputs of shipbuilding for another 10 years. The tonnage tax scheme that provides tax benefits for sea-going ships taking trainees will extend to land vessels. The ship's scheme will provide more jobs and benefit in land shipping. Not a fine run railways allocation as a share of India's budget has declined at a time when it is struggling financially. With the share of revenue from internal resources dwindling, the railway depends on budgetary and extra budgetary support to sustain itself. The chart shows the operating ratio of the Indian Railways. Measured, it measures the amount it spends to earn 100 in by railways. So it is between 9 approximately 95%. 95 rupees to 100 rupees. Share of internal revenue, extra budgetary resources, and gross budgetary resources in the total receipts. Internal resources is going down to approx 55 50-55%. Gross budgetary support is around 45 and extra budgetary resources is around 5%. Staff cost as a share of railway ministry's revenue expenditure in percentage, over 34% of the revenue expenditure is spent on staff cost. 34%. Table shows the amount allocated to regional connectivity scheme. The amount has come down in absolute terms. So that's all in this edition. See you in the next one.